How old were you when they put you in?
I was 23, just turning 24.
And tell us the whole story. What happened?
Well, I was arrested back in 1994 for homicide. I think that everyone knew that I didn't do this case at all. Everyone knew I didn't commit the crime. I mean, I literally woke up that afternoon because my girlfriend wanted to change her niece's costume. And she also had a taste for chocolate cake. So just imagine waking up to change a costume for Halloween, a child's costume, and then disappearing for the next 29 years of your life, right? And being charged with a homicide while the prosecutor involved in your conviction has a history of misconduct. And it wasn't until some 27, 26 years later that he finally gets arrested and gets convicted. Former Queens prosecutor John Scarpa. He gets convicted for the very same misconduct that I've been telling them about, that he's been doing for decades.
So he would just find someone, pin it on them.
Yeah, he would concoct a story, a theory, as he did in my situation.
And he did this just to convict someone?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It wasn't that he was targeting you? He just decided it was you?
Anybody that he felt was involved in a criminal lifestyle or in drug dealing, it's easier to get someone that has a history of being involved in the streets to put a case on them than it is that someone that doesn't. So, once they find out that you have a record, it's easy to say, all right, well, he did this homicide.
What kind of a record did you have at the time?
I had a drug sale prior to that. So that's enough for him to say, okay, he's a part of a drug crew and, let's arrest him and lock him up.
This particular prosecutor, his thing was bribery. He would pay off witnesses. And he ended up not only getting convicted, but went to federal prison for it. I should give some context here because to the extent that Bruce is going to be guarded about certain details of his case, I want to explain why. Last time I was on with Derek Hamilton, we were, sort of previewing the center that we would open. So I left the Innocence Project. I was the ambassador of the Innocence Project. And I think that there was a real need for work being done on cases that didn't just involve DNA. So we deal with cases that involve all manner of what we think is junk forensic science that we've talked about, ballistics, arson, bite marks, and so on. But we also want there to be an aspect that dealt with clemency for people that we think got over-sentenced and deserved a second chance. So Bruce was our first client at the Perlmutter Center for Legal Justice at Cardozo Law. And I got a call from a guy named Steve Zeidman that runs a clemency center at CUNY Law. And Steve said, congratulations on the new center. I have the perfect guy for you. His name is Bruce Bryant with a T at the end of his name. That becomes important in a minute. And he said, I'm going to send you some information about him. So he emails me this list of accomplishments. It was more than most human beings can accomplish in 7 lifetimes. From the degrees that he achieved to starting a gun buyback program from inside to starting something called Voices from Within, these community, these galvanizing sort of community outreach programs. And, I went to go visit him with the mindset that I was going to support his clemency application. And getting clemency in New York ain't easy from the governor. Clemency is supposed to be all about rehabilitation and transformation. And historically, especially in New York, you have to express contrition and explain to the parole board if you are granted clemency and it is a commutation of your sentence, that is a shortening of your sentence, you have to explain to the parole board, here's what I have done to transform myself and accept responsibility. so keeping that in mind, I went to visit Bruce for the first time, and I said, "Nice to meet you." He says, "Nice to meet you. You know, I wrote you 4 years ago," he said to me. And, you know, I felt ridiculous. It was at a time where I didn't have the Perlmutter Center for Legal Justice, and I sort of was doing one-off cases, sometimes with the Innocence Project, sometimes